And so when you're trying to run a business, how can you possibly try to get someone to purchase your product? How are you trying to convince somebody that you are worth what you're asking for if I didn't even believe it myself?
Welcome, cakers, bakers, and sweet treat makers. Do I have a treat for you? Lisa Herrera. We have Lisa Herrera back on from A Cake Come True. Thank you so much for joining us again, Lisa.
You're welcome. Glad to
Thanks.
be here.
Thank you so much for being here again. Like I said before, if you tuned in to our live or what we tried to do as a live stream back in February, Valentine's Day 2018, here we are recording months later because that's what busy bees we are.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I wanted to make sure that we did re-record this episode because it is so important. It's also very much in line with our message here where we spread love like buttercream at Cakers Chat. So, Lisa, to reiterate, what we were talking about on that beautiful Valentine's Day was to make sure that we do spread that love, but we have to start by loving ourselves, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, 100%. You can't expect anyone to love you or what you do unless you love yourself and love what you do. So it all begins with ourselves.
Well, let's take this way from the beginning. If you don't know, Lisa Herrera is a wonderful cake artist, and she has been featured in many magazines, and she has competed in many competitions, which she's about to tell us very soon. She's from the proud owner of A Cake Come True in Denver, Colorado.
Mhm.
And if you can tell us a little bit about how did you get into caking in the first place?
So I started making cakes when I received a really terrible cake for my wedding day. And I hate to say that I'm sure that person was very proud when they made that cake, but it wasn't my idea of my dream cake. And I just remember making a statement to my husband that I could have done better myself. And he said, "Well, why don't you try?" So segued into me trying my hand at it. I didn't even own a rolling pin. I just like twisted off my paper towel holder. It had like a wooden rod, and I used that for a rolling pin, and I used a shot glass for circle cutters, and that's how a cake come true was born.
That's amazing. You're crafty regardless, right?
You kind of have to be very resourceful in this industry.
Absolutely. Tell me, what kind of training did you go through? What was the next step? And what took you from that point of being a hobbyist, somebody who was fidgeting or fiddling with sugar, to, you know what? I think I'm going to open up a business.
um, so I have no formal training. I like to tell people that I graduated from the University of YouTube. I am completely self-taught, a lot of trial and error, and I've learned from so many great, amazing cake artists in our industry as well. So just lots of knowledge from all of the free platforms, and I also paid for a few as well. So no formal training, just lots of hard work.
School of Hard Knocks, best one.
That's right.
If I had to ask you, what's Lisa's style, what would it be?
My style is very clean and bold. I love colorful cakes. People tend to come to me when they want something edgy, and that just kind of screams their personality. So bold, clean, edgy.
I gotta say, and I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but let's go back to your wedding cake. Now, I don't know exactly what it looked like, but sometimes out of something that was kind of not what you wanted, you kind of, it inspires you to do something. What about that cake really gave you that gumption, other than the fact that you thought you could do better? But what gave you that thought, like, what was so wrong with it?
Well, this particular cake was 3 tiers. The tiers were not defined at all, so it kinda just looked like one big tower of cake, and it was leaning. I mean, now that I do it for a living, I can, like, pinpoint all of the things that went wrong, but at the time, I was very excited for that particular portion of my wedding because I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I had to pay for everything myself, and that was the one thing that I wanted to kind of be a showpiece or to make a statement within my wedding because everything else was pretty DIY, if you will. So it was the
Mhm.
one thing that I could invest a little bit of money into. So I was really excited about it. And I was very upset at the end of that day. Just let me say that. But so it just really drives me now currently in my business to make sure that I give every couple their cake of their dreams, that they can depend on me to make sure that they have that, that they don't
Hey,
have to experience what I did.
right. That's a great driving force. I think you took something that could have been substantially painful and you just carried it on and you could have complained about it for the rest of your life. But instead, you turned it around and said, you know what? I'm going to make sure that nobody feels this way ever again.
Absolutely. And even though that at the moment it wasn't the best feeling at the moment, I absolutely love that cake. It, it's like it is the beginning of my journey. So although it was like not very great at the time, I still really very much love that cake because it is a part of my story, and I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your clients love that cake too because of that cake, you're basically providing top-notch A-list customer service and you make sure that everybody is happy at the end of the story, right?
I do try my very best.
So, you've been in this industry exactly how long?
I've been making cakes for 11 years.
Okay, and in those 11 years, what would you say was your biggest challenge as an as a business owner?
Oh gosh, to pinpoint just one. There are so many facets I think that are challenging when you're starting a business, being in our specific community, being an entrepreneur that works from home. There's so many different challenges to just pick just one would be kind of difficult. I would say um, if I had to really pick to narrow it down, I would say the most challenging is the loneliness. Gets really lonely in this industry. Any entrepreneur that works from home, it just gets downright lonely. And so a lot of our friendships or relationships are born online or through social media. And so it's trying to translate those into like real life feelings or real life relationships. Um, that's really challenging. And I think that's where kind of where the topic of self love is. Um, I really had to just kind of know who I was in order to put myself out there for other people to love me as well. Like y- in this industry, we're so big on comparing ourselves or feeling the need to belong or feeling the need to fit in. And when you don't quite get that because everyone is having the same exact feelings, it really makes you have to think about what it is that you need. And it all boils down to having connections with people, human interaction. So anyway, short answer, loneliness.
Let me tell you, Lisa. I mean, you like basically just segued into the next question I was going to ask you, but you bring up a really perfect topic here, and that loneliness, and basically that's where Keiko's chat was brought up because so many people are lonely, and I don't think that's a cake
Mhm.
industry issue as much as it's a solopreneurs industry issue. We're all inside our dungeons, cake caves, or what have you,
Mhm.
doing our thing, trying to, make our mark on this world. But unfortunately, we're all by ourselves doing these things. And we can make great things, but it is not only a social need, but it is a vital, basic need, to be loved. And sure, being loved by your loved ones, friends that you have, but people
Mhm.
who actually truly understand you. I think you bring up with a really great point. But in order for you to be desirable and to be loved, is you have to kind of start by loving yourself. Wouldn't you
Mhm.
agree?
Absolutely. I mean, the only way to show up for other people is to show up for yourself. And so I think it's just like when we are so concerned about what we want from other people, if we would just focus on what we want from ourselves and live that out, then the rest of it just kind of falls together. You don't, it doesn't have to be so much work.
That's great. It doesn't have to be so much work. Tell me, where do you think that there's a blockage? What is creating this blockage between um, being a good entrepreneur and being a connected person to society?
So what's the block between the two? I think a lot of it is fear. I mean, we're all afraid to interact with people. We're always afraid of what this person might think of me or what this their judgment of me. And so we focus on that so much that we tend to forget what we're really after, which is that connection. And so it stops us from even just going out and seeking it, going out to put ourselves out there, whether it's networking or just getting together in meetups. We just forget those vital things like connecting with people because connecting through social media is great, but there's just something to be said when you're face to face with somebody or you can touch somebody or give them a hug to say that I'm here for you. It's so much different when you're like, I'm here for you and being able to hug that person. So we live in that world though today. It's kind of a catch 22 because that's just how the world works is through this interweb of socialization. And so the fear just stops us from looking outside of these screens to have those real connections with people.
Right, you come up with a great point. I mean, like here we are, we're really good friends, Lisa. You and I, we've been talking, trying to connect since February. I know it's a little pathetic. We could have probably, you could possibly, at least on my side, I know I could have possibly done something more. Um, but because both of us are trying to run around and do something with ourselves, we kind of had our roads didn't meet until today. So, I mean, maybe we should be looking a little bit more local. And again, let's start back with ourselves. I mean, it seems to me, Lisa, I followed you for a bit now. There's been a transformation that I've seen and many have witnessed through the last couple of years and especially the last couple of months. Can you tell me a little bit about that transformation?
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to the point of loneliness. I kind of was at a point in my journey where I felt that I wasn't really connecting with people in my community, in the sense of the cake community. I kept feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, I didn't quite fit in anywhere, and I was trying so hard to figure that out. And it just kind of like dawned on me, or I came to the realization that that's not going to happen until I get right with myself. I can't expect other people to see me, to actually see me, to see my heart, to see who I am as a person until I actually figure that out. Because we have this idea of what we want to be or what we hope to be. But unless we're living it, we're not actually there. And so I had to take the steps to figure myself out, to evolve into who I am today. And that took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of hard looking at myself and being honest with myself and figuring out what it is that I needed to work on so that I could move forward and not, because even though I was lonely, I was definitely surrounded by my family that loved me. And I almost didn't see that or feel that because I was so concerned about other people, what they thought of me. Um, so it wasn't until I kind of took a deep dive into myself that I realized that that actually didn't even really matter in the end. What really mattered were the people that were there showing me love and kindness and affection that I kind of was turning my back on because I was so concerned with other people. And so when I realized that I was doing that to the people that love me is when I realized that I needed to change because at the end of the day, that's really what mattered to me.
Lisa, thank you so much for being open about this. I think so many of us in the creative industry can completely relate to you.
Mm.
I know myself, I suffer from this. And if you ask my husband, he'll tell you. When I get working on a project, I no longer belong to the family. I
Yeah.
basically disappear, right?
Yes.
Because I get so enthralled and so obsessed into whatever I'm doing. And this can also happen in relationships, even the relationships that we shouldn't be spending time with. And that's with the people who we think we're
Mhm.
supposed to value their opinion or what have you. And I think you bring up a great point. It seems to me like your transformation took you from one place to a way other place. Where do you think you began to kind of tailspin into something or become this person that you didn't want to be?
Um, I definitely had a quantum leap, and, before that, it was just a lot of sadness, a lot of, just didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't know my own value, and so when you're trying to run a business, how can you possibly try to get someone to purchase your product? How are you trying to convince somebody that you are worth what you're asking for if I didn't even believe it myself?
Hold on to your spatulas. It's time for the Quick Mix Q&A. Your favorite color?
My favorite color is pink. I inherited that color from my Bella Rose, but my second favorite is yellow because it's bright and cheery.
Your favorite song?
So my favorite song is actually called "The Hurt and the Healer," and the tagline in that song is "I'm alive even though part of me has died," and it's by Mercy Me.
Your favorite season?
Definitely, my favorite season is fall because it's Thanksgiving.
Your favorite dessert?
I don't eat dessert very often, but I eat a lot of cookies. So does that count? Cookies.
Least favorite dessert?
Probably tiramisu.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I would consider myself a night owl, even though I do get up fairly early. I get up at 6 o'clock every morning, but I do prefer being up late.
Coffee or tea?
Hands down, 100% coffee. I drink coffee all day, every day.
And your zodiac sign is?
I'm a Taurus.
And one tool that you just can't live without?
I don't think I could live without my X-Acto knife.
How did you get into caking?
I got a really terrible wedding cake on my wedding day, and it inspired me to try my hand at it.
If you weren't a caker, what would you be?
I have always wanted to write. So I would say be an author, but that dream can still happen.
Describe your first cake.
I would describe my first cake as being a very proud moment because I created something with my hands and it was the birth of the journey that I am on today, 11 years later.
What do you want your legacy to be, Lisa?
Mm. I want my legacy to be to show people that no matter what trials they go through in life, even the worst of those moments, that you can still wake up every single day and choose joy and live your best life, even through sadness and pain. There is still joy and love. And I hope that I inspire people to follow their dreams and live their best lives. And so it was just that inability to connect with people or just that fear and, all those things, just not believing in myself. And I just really got tired of feeling that way. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to excel in my business. I knew I wasn't going to be able to reach my idea of success unless I got over myself. And so it just took a reality check. It took um, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I just knew that the only way for it to happen, for me to reach me living my best life was completely 100% in my own control. So it was when I noticed that my relationships were suffering, that my business was suffering, that I had to take a really good look and kind of just face whatever it is, whatever demons I needed to face. Because nobody wants to face that junk, right? Because it's either too painful or it's too much work to deal with, or nobody wants to face it. No one wants to be honest with themselves. So I really had to be honest with myself, and I had to face those those demons.
Lisa, you mentioned sadness. So let's go back to sadness. If you guys don't know this, now you know. Lisa is a mom, and unfortunately, she did have a loss. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that and where it kind of
Of
took
course.
you internally?
Of course. I had 5 children. One of them, my Bella Rose, passed away 6 years ago. She was 7 years old. And, it's been a really difficult journey, very, very difficult. And it's still one that I live with every single day. I probably will live with it for the rest of my life. But it definitely is very much a part of me, a part of my business. It's a part of how I live my life. But with that comes with extreme sadness. It comes with extreme pain, extreme trauma that I have to deal with on a regular basis. But it does kind of coincide with how I run my business, how I live my life, how I love my friends and family. It's just very much a big, huge part of me. So anybody that knows me knows that Bella Rose is just, even though she's gone, she is with me every single day and she's a part of my life every single day. So I like to share anything that I can about her and about her legacy anytime that I can.
Well, it's nice. And I'm really sorry for your loss, and nobody should go through the loss of losing a child. But what I've learned in the past year or so is that sometimes our kids are not here for us, that they're literally here to teach us a lesson, and they're just part of all the messages from the universe. And we just have to be open to like hear those messages. And I think it's
Right.
beautiful, if I may say, that she seems to be the driving force to not only your business but your life and the way that you live your life. I think that's beautiful that her memory stays alive with your driving force of wanting to make yourself better so that you are present for those that are here.
Thank you. What she definitely is very much a part of my life. My logo is actually in honor of her. When I moved to Colorado, I rebranded and I considered changing the name of my company, but you know, a little bit about Bella is she was disabled and wheelchair bound. So I had to be available and accessible to her at all times. And it left me not able to work outside the home. So cake really was so pivotal in my life during that time because having 5 children, I had teenagers, I had a child on the spectrum, Bella, who was disabled, and a toddler. So it was necessary for me to be home. But as you can imagine, raising 5 children, especially special needs children, financially, it can get difficult. So having cake really kind of saved our lives during that time. It was able to allow us to have supplemental income, doing something that was fun and something that I love to do. So it was really vital. And to this day, like I said, it was born, when I got married. However, the evolution became that Bella was a driving force to keep me going and making cakes even during those difficult times when I'm up all night or, because you have to work all night because you're up with the kids during the day. It was the driving force, it was the fuel that kept me going. And so after she passed away, it was difficult to keep going because I felt like, well, what's the point now? What's the purpose now for me? It's kind of irrelevant. And I did take a hiatus because I just didn't think that I wanted to do that anymore. But after I moved to Colorado, kind of took some time, and it was her, I feel, that kind of reminded me that I needed to do what I feel is my purpose. Not My purpose is not making cakes. My purpose is creating memories. My purpose is giving value to someone's life through the skill that the Lord gave me. So I need to be sharing that. And I think as a creative, we just always have to be creating something. So I'm good at it. Why not make it? And so, anyway, she is very much a part of and in line to how I do that now. So,
Absolutely,
if
Lisa.
that made any sense.
It made complete sense, Lisa. I get it. Do you get it? It makes complete sense. I mean, how many of you guys out there, I mean, are sit here and they'll say, well, clients say, well, it's just cake. It's not just cake. We're spreading the love. We're making memories, as Lisa said. We're part of your celebration, and we take that role very seriously. At least
Very seriously.
most of us do. So, Lisa, you've kind of transitioned. You felt like you had to up your game. You were in a place that was kind of just where you were surviving, I'm guessing, where you went
Yes.
back to caking, but something was not sitting right with you. You were lonely. You needed to up your game. Something wasn't right. So,
Yes.
what got you to this new place of joy, of thriving?
So joy is a choice that you have to make every single day. I don't just get up in the morning and like, I am so joyful. I have to be really conscious of how I'm feeling. If I'm not feeling so great, if I'm not feeling so joyous, and I really try to dig deep to figure why I'm not, and I make a choice. Today I'm going to make a good day. Today I'm going to be the best version of myself. Today I'm going to be the best business owner that I can be. Today I'm going to create an amazing cake. It's just a choice that I make every day, and every day is not perfect, but I try really, really hard to express joy in my life because I want the people around me to feel that, because it's like we're all energy creatures. Like people just feel that from us. And if I'm constantly just being a Debbie Downer, or I'm feeling like I'm having a depressing day, or I'm feeling sad and lonely, like everyone's going to feel that energy from me. And so I can't possibly be the best version of myself unless I choose to express joy. Because even though there's things that happen in our lives that are like terrible, or um like we feel that aren't great, it's finding those moments that are great, or finding those things in our life that are great. And so I choose joy every day. I try to be grateful for everything that I have every day, and I hope that that relates to the people that are around me.
Absolutely. And when you are that negative and that focus, all you're going to do is attract more of that. That's not what we
That
want,
is
right?
that's so true.
So then you're going to have those whiny clients. And the more you whine about the whiny clients, the more whiny clients you're going to get.
I know it's really hard for people to say, like, oh, you can just be happy, just choose it. I know that that's a difficult term, to just choose joy, but it is possible. And I think that's where the transformation happens. Like, you have to figure out how to choose joy. It doesn't just like everyone can say, I'm going to choose joy today, but you really have to get inside and know yourself, and figure all those like bits and pieces out to be able to express yourself with joy.
Lisa, it
It's
sounds to me, sorry to cut you off, but it sounds to me, because you're getting revved up and I know where you're going with it. I'm trying to get you somewhere. This is Lisa. I want you, what you're describing to me, it sounds like there's a process. Can you help us out here? Because a lot of us are in different places in our lives. And some people go deep into the sadness, or deep into the depression, or whatever it is that's not a good place, let's call it. A lot of people go deep and deep and deeper, and you can be at different levels. And how do you get yourself out of it? How do you get into that funk? Maybe it's not the best day. So, Lisa, it sounds to me like you have a process to get into your happy phase. Can you help us? It sounds like you get amped up or something, or is there like a ritual or something that you do to kind of start your day?
there is, I mean, I don't, it's a process of rituals. I think in the beginning of, I'm going to call it I'm going to call it kicker wellness. When you go through figuring out that you want to be well, mentally, physically, whatever the case might be, there is a process. And the first process was for me was I had to be honest with myself. I had to be honest with myself and say, what is it that I really want with my life? What is it that I really want from my business? And it wasn't until I asked those questions that I could dig deeper to figure out what it was going to take to get there. Well, what it was going to take to reach those things, to be the best version of myself. Um, so I honestly feel that your physical health is really important. I think just going for a brisk walk, it does wonders for your mental health. Having clarity, just being your endorphins, that helps out so much. So I do yoga regularly just to get my zen. I try to meditate also. And I really learned, this is going to sound a little offbeat, but I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn to communicate because I was holding everything inside. I was just trapped in my own mind, trapped in what I was feeling and not sharing that with anybody. And so when you do that, it takes you like deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And so it was when I finally was able to share how I was feeling. In my particular case, it was with my husband, other really close friends, because there's power in saying what you feel or what you really want people to know. I mean, there's just power in words. And so that just goes along with connecting with people. So once I started connecting, really connecting with people and sharing how I felt, sharing what journey I was going on, was when things started to align.
It
I
does.
think that
I
went
don't
off.
think that's offbeat as much as it's deep.
I mean, it's just honesty, I mean, it's real raw. And I'll be honest, I don't think I've really ever shared this with anybody, but it is. It's like it's so many things that people just don't want to talk about, and it's that we get stuck inside ourselves. And how do we get out of ourselves? We can't do it alone. And so
Yeah.
I seeked out resources. Where can I find help that will help me to discover who I am or what I want out of my own life? Because we're the drivers. I'm driving my own life. I make my choices. I'm the one that decides where I'm going. And if I don't actively work on that, I'm going to be in a hamster wheel and I'm just going to be running in place. So I found resources. I listened to audiobooks, and this is still active to this day. I listen to audiobooks every single day. I listen to podcasts every single day. I listen to inspirational music every single day. I do something that's going to feed my soul and feed my mind. And it's just a domino effect. You can't help but to get better once you're feeding yourself with knowledge. So, and that goes across the board with anything in your life. Knowledge is power. And if you don't know how to do something, or you don't know how to get out of the funk, or you don't know how to, you know, get out of sadness or loneliness, you cannot do it by yourself. And whether that you're not comfortable going to somebody, a person, there are other resources that can help you through those processes.
Lisa, I think that's great. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm going to ask you this question. It seems like you said, you made a quantum leap. Do you ever flip back over?
All the time, sister. All
Okay.
the
So you do
time.
flip back over. Do you ever fear that you'll go back there again?
Never. We
Mhm.
all, it's constant work, just like a marriage. It's constant work. It doesn't, if you're complacent, then you're doing something wrong. So if you don't go backwards sometimes, then you'll never move forward, because you have to reflect on how you felt. You have to kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, I don't want to feel this way. Oh yeah, that's right, this sucks. So it is a constant evolution. It's a constant work in progress. So I'll never be able to say I've made it to the spot where I'm comfortable and I don't have to deal with that anymore. Never. I will always have to be constantly working on myself. And I think everybody does. If you're not working on yourself, then you can't possibly be, I mean, just growing older.
Yeah.
Just growing older, you're like, okay, well, I wasn't who I was last year. I wasn't who I was yesterday, because we're constantly evolving. And if we're not always working on that, then you have to reevaluate. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. But
Just in my opinion.
yeah,
So you're basically using it as a barometer or even another driving force to make you move forward. So if you have those feelings of that darkness coming over, that overwhelm of loneliness, that overwhelm of criticism, that overwhelm of
mhm,
I'm not really good at this, you just kind of have to push forward and say, okay, I just need an extra yoga class this week, or I need to go for a walk, I need to skip over that, I need to call for a friend.
exactly, 100%. We all will have those moments. I have those moments regularly, uh, regularly. But I think they're just kind of like checkpoints. Like, it's just kind of like life, saying, "Come check in with me." Don't get too comfortable, because you never know what life is going to throw at you. You never know what's behind the next door. And so, in order to be prepared, you have to be on your toes. So you have to constantly check
Lisa, thank you so much. This sounds like self-love.
in.
Thank you so much. It seems like I've learned so much, or I've heard so much, that it's kind of motivated me alone to do something about it.
Aw.
And I hope it's motivated you out there, because what Lisa's talking about here is self-love and starting with yourself first. And awareness is key, and kind of taking care of yourself physically and mentally so that you can be the best person that you want to be.
I think it's important to note that that all translates into your business as well. Like, it just the how you value yourself is how your clients are going to value you. So it just, all across the board, loving yourself first, everyone else will love you too. And then you'll realize, though, and this is what I realized, is that once I loved myself, I didn't care if anyone else loved me. It just kind of came, with the territory of not caring so much about what other people think of me, because as long as I knew that I was being myself, my authentic self, loving myself, it didn't matter if everybody else felt the same way, that I could still live my life in the way that I want to, as long as I love myself.
Bravo. Remember, you cannot control what others feel about you or say about you. All you can do is control what you do and say
Yep,
and think.
that's right.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today, and
You're
thank you so much for
welcome.
your time and your energy and sharing all this beautiful stuff.
Hey, hope you've enjoyed this episode of Caker's Chat. If you have a question or two, don't let it stew. Comment below and let us know. Hey, and give us a hug with a thumbs up and a subscribe. Catch you on the next episode of Caker's Chat.